Hi guys, James from Goddard Radio Moscow Beer Reviews again for you today with another beer review. As has been the case with the last few videos, we're going to do another Victorian beer for you today. And this one comes to you from a little company called Otway Brewing, who are near the Great Ocean Road, in Colac, which is just a little bit to the west of Melbourne. And we're going to have a taste of one of their Prickly Moses series beers today, and this one is the Red Ale. And I've got another two of these beers that I'll review for you in the next little while. So as is usual then with my reviews, I'll take you through just a little bit about the brewery, and then we'll go on to the tasting of the beer. Just fast forward if you want to get straight to the tasting section. The brewery website is in the video description for you below, as always, along with a link that will take you to my other reviews that I'll do from these guys in the future. So anyway, as I mentioned to you, this brewery is called the Otway Brewery, despite the beer series being called the Prickly Moses. And they're based on the Otway estate, which is actually mainly a winery. But Janine Rose took the decision to build the brewery on site, and the brewery actually began operations back in February 2007, with the first beers being released in March of that year. Now the brewery is located in Barongarook, which is near the Otway State Park, to the south of Colac and the west of Geelong. And it's also very close to the Great Ocean Road, and I did that recently with my friends. So if you find yourself in the sort of Melbourne region of Victoria, definitely go and check that out. But the company prides themselves in using the Otway region water for their wines and for their beers, and they say that it gives it quite a unique taste. And as I've found when I've reviewed Icelandic beer and Hawaiian beer for you before, it can have kind of a very significant impact on the flavour. So maybe we'll see that today. But they also produce the Forbidden Fruit range of ciders as well. So if you're in Australia and you see those, this is the same company. This is Otway Brewing, Otway Winery, and all of this kind of thing. But just to list, that's your kind of short history of the brewery, but just to list the other beers you can get from these guys, you've got the Otway Ale, the Otway Light, Red Ale, which is this guy here obviously, Summer Ale Stout, Tailpipe, Chainsaw, Spotted Ale, Organic Pilsner, Blueberry Hefeweizen, Raconteur IPA, Oktoberfest Lager, which is a seasonal one, the Black Panther IBA, Farmhouse de Otway, Saison Vintage Ale, and also the Reserve, which is a Bière de Gare, an old French style, this one. But let's get on to the tasting of this guy now. So this one is a 5% Irish style red ale apparently. I'll just bring up the camera and let you have a wee look at the artwork on this one, as we always do. If you're wondering what the wee animal on this thing is, those of you watching back home will probably think this is a kind of hedgehog thing, but it's actually an echidna, and really they just look like a hedgehog but with a kind of platypus beak on them. But it's quite a nice little bit of artwork on this one, as you can see, nice and shiny. It's just a plain bottle cap, and it is a 4.7% Irish red ale, as I said to you before. The hops in this one uses Kent Golding hops with a blend of and it blends the malt with small quantities of roast barley. It doesn't say the exact malt composition, which is a bit disappointing because that's usually quite important when it comes to the red ale. But that's your sort of brief overview of this beer, so we'll get it out and get on with the tasting now. Here we go. So you can see a little bit of smoke coming out on the opening there. It's got the colour that you would normally expect from an English style bitter, if you like, but you can smell the kind of sweeter aspects that you'd expect from the red ale just without even paying too much attention to it as you pour it. But yeah, you can actually, it smells very kind of sweet and cereally. But if I bring the camera up again and just let you have a look at the colour of this beer, you can see here, I'm having a little bit of bother with this mouse, but as you can see, it's a nice sort of coppery colour. If I put my fingers behind it, you can see it is quite transparent. There's about a half finger of a slightly off-white kind of creamy coloured head, and there's a good bit of carbonation sticking to the side of the glass, but I'm not sure if that's just because this is a tankard rather than the wee goblet glass that I like to use normally. But there's a lot of carbonation just going up towards the bottom of this one, so I'm guessing it'll be like most Australian beers where it's got a good level of that just because of the heat in this country. But in terms of the aroma, you're getting a nice kind of dark, slightly roasted caramel coming off this guy. You can pick up the sort of cereal elements in the bread as well, but it's got a nice big it does have a nice big caramel element coming off it, some kind of sweet bready notes as well. As I'm saying, it's a more wholemeal bread you're getting from this. You're getting a lot of grainy smells out of it, but there's a little bit of berry fruit. If you just swirl it around a little bit, you can pick up a little bit of red berry fruit just in the back of the nose, just on the sort of sharper sensors in your nose actually. But yeah, big caramel bready beer, nice little bit of grain in there as well. So let's give it a taste and see how we get on. it follows exactly what you would think of the nose, or you would think from the nose. It's got a nice kind of buttery bread taste that kind of dominates the palate. It's in the middle of the tongue. It's got this really nice, sweet, caramelly, buttery flavour that comes out. It is actually quite, pardon me, it is actually quite highly carbonated, and that helps bring out the kind of grainy aspects of the flavour. A lot of the grains come out just with the kind of prickle from the carbonation. But yeah, the sweeter caramel kind of comes a bit forward in the mouth, but you've got this nice kind of little bit of hoppy character that comes out just around the edge. Maybe a slight little bit of earthy hop character that just sits right around the edge of your tongue. But yeah, the cereal character kind of hits the middle front of the tongue and just kind of builds out. That comes in with just a little bit of prickle from the carbonation, but towards the back of the palate you've got the kind of the caramel and the nice caramel sort of toasted bready flavours coming out there. And there's a little bit of red fruit juice that comes around the edge of the tongue as well. It has that nice little wet bit of mouthfeel that just brings that little bit of red fruit out around the edge there. But as I said, there's mainly a little bit of earthy character that just sits around the edges of the tongue there. It's quite an interesting blend of flavours, this one. There's maybe just a little bit of nutty flavour kind of mixing in with that nice sort of bready feel to it as well. It's quite an interesting blend of flavours, this one, I would say. But yeah, it's a nice kind of nutty, bready flavoured beer, this one. A little bit of caramel, like I was saying in the background, but it's really interesting in the sense that they've mixed the caramel quite well with that sort of kind of wholemeal, sort of brown bready flavour that's in there. And there's a little bit of nuts too, and some nice kind of earthy hop, which is usually what you get from the Kent Holdings hop. English hops are always a little bit earthy just because of the soil that they grow them in. But in terms of the mouthfeel, I'd definitely say this guy is kind of light, pushing mid-bodied actually. The carbonation is moderate, but it's a lot of little bubbles it has a fair bit of attack on the tongue, and the beer does have quite a wet mouth feel, and it does have a little bit of residual sweetness, and you could probably say it's a little bit dry in the finish too, and that's where you're getting the kind of residual earthy character from the hop in this one. The cereal elements just kind of stick around in the taste there as well. So I mean, overall it's quite an interesting blend of flavours. This is a little bit more carbonated than other red ales I've encountered, and as I've said in a few of my other reviews, I do think that is just because of how hot Australia is. They like their beers to be quite carbonated. This one would be nice, I think, on cask with a little bit less carbonation. If you produce it as a cask ale rather than with the bottle condition, a lot of carbonation, it would also be very nice, and it would be an interesting kind of variant on the beer itself, if you like. But overall, it's quite a nice red ale, and I'd actually be quite interested to do a bit of a session on one of these. I'm more session sort of Hellas beers, golden ales and IPAs. I never really session red ales, but this one I could see myself doing it, but maybe with just a little bit less carbonation if it was a cask ale, like I said. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this beer review. Please let me know in the comments section your own thoughts on this beer if you do happen to have tried it. As I said at the start, I will be reviewing 2 more Prickly Moses beers for you in the very near future, maybe in about 5 or 6 videos time. But I hope you've enjoyed the beer review. As I always say with these Australian reviews, please let me know in the comments section other beers and other breweries that you would like me to check out. I'm going to go over to South Australia in the next week or 2, so I'll pick up some South Australian beers, so any tips there you can offer, and please let me know your own thoughts on this beer as well. Like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. I thank you again for watching my beer reviews, and I will catch you soon with another one. Cheers.